Hi, I'm Brad Paddock, intern architect and journeyman carpenter with Robert Paddock Construction in Ontario, Canada. Today, I'd like to share with you a field report of a recent experience I've had in working with the Festool Domino XL DF700. This particular project was for a client, owners of an 1858 granite and limestone farmhouse in St. George, Ontario. Our firm added a contemporary addition to the residence a number of years ago as the family was growing. The proposal revisited the addition of the stone residence to consider the placement of an eastern white pine timber reclaimed from an implement shed that had come down years earlier to a vertical wall above the airtight wood stove. In early meetings with the client, it was decided that the preferred aesthetic for the installation of the mantel was to adopt the language of the existing architecture. Although dimensioning to size would be necessary, the historic markings of its original hand-hewn face were to be maintained or replicated where possible. The main idea of the proposal was simply to find a way to put the timber in place with no visible record of how it was done. I think that all of us who enjoy working with wood, as professionals or simply working out of the garage or basement, find the opportunity to solve a design problem gratifying. I was a carpenter before I studied architecture, and everything I've learned in the field has an important role in finding solutions. Solutions that may be the difference between creating work that is ordinary and results that are truly extraordinary. Having the best tools to advance one's ideas is absolutely essential to meeting this ambition. I'm new to festool. I was the construction manager for the University of Waterloo School of Architecture's entry in the U.S. Department of Energy's Solar Decathlon in Washington, D.C. in 2009. For the project, we had selected a kitchen manufactured by a firm in Munich. Our Toronto sales rep coordinated with an installer in Washington to address any deficiencies or problems during the installation on the National Mall. This guy comes in with green latches on his tool cases during the build, and we start to talk about tools that he likes and tools that he uses. Our firm has a long history with European manufactured equipment, from Lamello to Fine, Elu to Waldendorf, so I'm interested in what he's saying and his conviction to festool. As I watch him methodically carry out his work, it's clear that the tools he is using are well matched to his abilities as a craftsman. A year later, I purchased my first piece of festool. I used Capex. A mantel is simply a shelf, and shelves have brackets to offer support to carry both live and dead loads. A common shelf angle was the point of departure for putting the timber in place. I was comfortable in thinking it might work, but as the architect, I needed certainty. I calculated the weight of the wood and its loads on the angle, and it eventually revealed itself to be something that would work. Something that was simple. Take a piece of steel off the rack, cut to length, secure it to the masonry, and bury all trace of it within the timber. I had the pleasure of testing the Domino XL before its 2012 release to market. It is a tool that we have found to have a diverse applicational spectrum. The proposed steel angle required a blind mortise that could be repeated at 3 locations on the timber's length that was simply the negative form to the section of the support. As we had history with this tool, the potential use of the XL was identified early in design. The capability to remove material to 70 millimeters or 2.75 inches quickly, accurately, and most important, safely, proved a significant advantage to any of the alternatives. I couldn't route to that depth, forget about spade bits, and the circular saw couldn't meet the depth or the length of the mortise without collateral damage to the exposed end grain. Our livelihood as a design-build firm depends on a pronounced refusal to compromise. The selection of the Domino would make this job easier and deliver an end result to exceed expectations of our client. With the 10 millimeter cutter in place, we could simply provide a sleeve condition for the angle at the correct height, to the corresponding length, and to the index depth. This is where the selection of the tool became smarter, and we recognized how well paired it was to the task. A horizontal line is identified at 3 points on the timber, identifying the high end of the cut. A pair of clamps place a temporary stop for the aluminum base plate of the XL to be placed against, referencing the Y, or vertical axis. The machine is set to the stop, seating itself to the exact reference on the X and Y plane and ready to cut. At a 70 millimeter depth of cut, it's a full plunge on the rails, but it's a smooth ride to the bottom and a remarkably clean ride with the CT dust extractor. And as you can see, it's accurate. I continue cutting to depth at pre-indexed intervals marked on the pine and simply work to the line, creating a mortise that is 143 millimeters or 5 5/8 inches in length. A little bit about methodology and how this can apply to your own projects. Although a double flute rotor bit is capable of plunging to a significant depth, the selection of the XL bypassed problems of achieving cutting depth, chip clearance, multiple passes, and that small voice of reason that speaks to you before you commit to press the on switch. Is this the best way to do this? In this application, it absolutely was. The 1010 was then used to template route the pocket to dimension for the angle. To complete, lag heads for the angles are pre-drilled to reflect their placement in the pocket as the timber slides into place. The angles are sent to a horizontal and ready for the timber. Small diameter fasteners will be used throughout the angle to pin the timber on the Z-axis, never to be seen, ensuring that the installation is secure. And this is the timber in place. Just a really clean installation to the highest standard of presentation. And we had a very happy client. The innovation of festool runs parallel to our own ambitions of completing projects with extraordinary results. As I mentioned earlier, the extent of what can be done with the domino remains an unknown. As a firm, we continue to rewrite its list of capabilities. All of us should have this confidence in the tools we use to create works of convention and true works of art. I've seen enough YouTube projects with the XL to understand that the message of what you can do with this is far-reaching. It's simply an invitation to explore. Think about your own woodworking and each of our ambitions to produce a higher level of craft. How you spend your working day or your weekends away from the office can be infinitely improved with tools designed with a high level of consideration to be adaptive to the task at hand. The XL subscribes to producing results of the highest order, faster, easier, and smarter. It's all of that.